Let's take a very brief look at the with clause, also known as the subquery factoring clause. In other words, it breaks queries up into smaller subqueries. What it actually does syntactically is it has a query that allows you to access from your regular tables, and then also allows you to access from the query results of pre-constructed queries constructed in the same query using the with clause. So as you can see, what you do is you say with query 1 as create a subquery, and with query 2 as create a subquery. The two query 1 and query 2 subquery factoring clauses are unrelated, and then they get passed automatically into the select statement, where you can use these two results to join to other sources of data, such as, in this case, table 1 and table 2. So now let's take a look at an example. What I'm going to do is start off with a nice big fat join query, and here we're actually joining the act table, the show, the venue, the country, the state, and the city, and pulling all this data out, something from every table. And I'll just run this one, Control Enter, and I choose to digress a little here into one of the idiosyncrasies of SQL Developer. Here I ran this query, and if we select here, run this, we get the query running okay. If I select on the query, no highlighting, hit Control Enter, it gives me an error because it seems to try to run all this stuff. So it doesn't like all this stuff up here, so I'm just going to comment this out quickly. I don't want to give you a file in the work files that's in a state that is unrunnable. Control Enter. For some reason, either the line across the page or one of these lines caused this entire chunk of code to be executed. Unknown. Some other little facts about SQL Developer. In this query, or let's pick another query, gotta find a different one. If I run a subquery that is contained within another query, like this one, within the with clause, it should run this query itself, only this query, which it does. If I click on this, and I pick on an invalid piece of SQL and click the play button, it will not give me a response. It's basically what it's telling me, the error starting at line 14. It's picking up one of the dots, probably this one, and it's saying, you can't do that. I don't know what that means. And it's just chucking out an error. If you click in it, and you don't highlight anything, press Control Enter, it'll go from the terminator to terminator and run the query. So now, let's go back to the with clause. I had this great big join query. I run a join on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different tables. I'm going to break it up. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run the join on the country, the state, and the city table. So I can run this query. And then I'm going to go down to here, and I'm going to run, as you've seen just now, the first join, or first part of the join on the country, the state, and the city. I'm going to run it in a with clause and call it LOC for location. And something strange there with SQL Developer, I'm not quite sure what. Yes, I must have clicked something that actually made it smaller. I've never seen, oh there, minus plus, right. It's allowing you to, that's something I haven't seen. This must be a feature in the latest version of SQL Developer, where if you click that little minus sign, it turns that into a single line. It's not executable, it highlights it, shows you the query itself. It's very interesting. Okay, the breakup of this query doesn't show the plus or minus with this query, possibly because it doesn't have enough lines. And here, this query says create the LOC or location with this query, pass it into the subquery as LOC, and join from all of these tables, from this table join, which we can run, and that's running the whole thing again. What I have to do is go to here. I got an error here because I ran this query down here without including the with clause. Run this. Oh, well, this query doesn't work because I have elements from that particular, from the with clause. If I take this out, it will run by itself. Eventually I'll get it right. And here we go. So now I'm going to put these back in, which are the location columns. And I'm going to go down to here and remove this guy. Go to here. I'm going to highlight all of this again with the with clause. And as you can see, it's joining everything together, and it's joining the pre-created query with the query down the bottom. And now I have act, venue, show date, country, state, city, a single column from every single table. That's the with clause in action. Interesting, simple, and sometimes very useful, and can sometimes help performance as well.